The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, race fans, we're back. I guess it's episode 247. I'm not very good with numbers, apparently, so we put down a different number last week. Puka texts me, he goes, hey, this show's 246. I'm like, I don't know. We missed a week in there, so I got all confused. I don't know what to tell you. So episode 247 of the One to Go show. I'm Ryan Aho. That is the legendary and former editor-in-chief there of Full Throttle Magazine, Bert Lehman from Eastern Wisconsin. He's our resident Packer fan. We still like him, still a good guy. Don't judge him. He's all right. Okay, no hate mail here, but that's Bert Lehman. And then we got Coach Kraus, fresh off a winning streak, multi-time champion at the Viking Speedway, promoter over there. I believe the winningest driver in Superstocks in the history of the Viking Speedway in Alexandria. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing good.
Kraus is talking about as much as I heard he did at the Wasota meeting. He just sits there. He's got tape over his mouth. I'm a mute. I'll just sit back in silence. I'll observe. Don't need to talk. Don't need to prolong the meeting. I'm just going to sit here. And it's kind of like the movie Major League. You know, what do you got to say as Euchre's looking at his color commentator there? And he's like, all right, thanks for adding. That's Kraus right there. He just... Thanks for being the color guy there. All right. So before we get into what we had going on, I know Kraus on a little winning streak there. He's got no shave November. What is it? 6-game winning streak, Kraus, for the Blizzard over there or what?
Yeah, we're on a 6-game win streak. Obviously all coaching. That's like I said, when you lose, it's players. When you win, it's coaching. That's how the coaching
I
things
heard
work.
That Johnny Kraus is the fucking man. Like literally that assistant coach. I mean, he's got it. He's got it. He's probably going to be a head coach sometime when they figure out that he's the reason they're winning. Good thing you pointed that out. You're spot on.
Yeah. And just like the Dallas Cowboys, it's all on the players. It's not that former Packer Mike McCarthy, because Bert, we all know Mike McCarthy's just a genius, right? Since he's a Packer guy.
And I never said
Bert's
that.
Guy. So it's good. We're on a winning streak here, playing real well. So it's a lot of fun and makes life easier, makes practice easier, makes everything easier when you win.
Yeah, you don't have to shave either, because you said you're on a winning streak. You don't shave when you're on a winning streak. So I guess in about a month here, Coach is going to look like old Grizzly Adams over there. So, I mean, it's cold. It gets cold up in Minnesota. So you got to get that fuzz on your face to kind of warm up. So this episode, boys, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. We're hot right in the middle of open enrollment. So if you're out there and you're like, man, I need health insurance, I'm paying too much. Maybe you had health insurance last year and you could only go to certain doctors and your doctor of choice is not in network. Impact does not have specific networks. You can go to any provider. You might look at it and you're like, my God, the deductibles I'm paying are just ridiculous. Very, very affordable deductibles, especially for families. $2,500 for a whole household. That's a pretty sweet deal right there. I'm looking at about $600 a month on average for families. $250 or so on average for individuals. But you can get a hold of me. I can get you a quote. I can get you all the information you need to see if we can save you money on healthcare so you have more money to spend on fun stuff like race car parts. So hit me up, 218-969-1380. I can get you all the info on Impact Health Sharing. Thanks a lot to them. So, Bert, I'm kind of getting bored, right? I mean, no racing. I mean, we watched a lot of racing. We had the World Finals. We'll talk about that in depth here in just a little bit. But anything fun and exciting going on? Lehman Speedway back in action this past weekend over in Eastern Wisconsin, or a pretty chill weekend for you?
It was just, I just was getting stuff done around the house, writing stories for my part-time job that I have, and And I watched some football. Even though the Packers didn't play, I watched some football on Sunday. Watched the Vikings for a little bit, but that wasn't much of a game to watch. So, but they did squeak it out.
A win is a win is a win,
Yeah.
right? I mean, an ugly win is still a W. And boy, I tell you what, the NFL as a whole, the Vikings aren't the only one winning ugly football games. There's some teams out. The Chiefs squeaked one out. I mean, they probably should have lost to the Broncos. I mean, there's a lot of ugly football, but they're doing better than I predicted at the beginning of the season. So everything from here on out is house money. Coach, you guys are on a winning streak. You leading right now? You leading the division or the whatever you got going on there?
No, we're actually in second right now. So we've narrowed that gap a little bit. Granite City's still in first place, but we've narrowed that gap a little bit here, so which helps. And now we separated ourselves a little bit from third and fourth, so that's always nice.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, you beat Granite City though, right? Head to head, you beat them, didn't you?
We beat them once. They beat us twice. We should have beat them all 3 times, but that's sports for you. But yeah, we have beat them.
And I mean, let's face it, we're Blizzard fans on this show. Granite City, they suck ass. In fact, their fans are a bunch of jackasses, right? I mean, I know this guy, Rapid Perform. I'm not really sure. I think Joe Hankemeyer, he's a big Granite City fan, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a few Granite City Motor Park racers over there that are Granite City fans.
They got to get their shit together and figure out that that's not the team to cheer for. We're Blizzard fans on this show, so Granite City, they can, and that's Granite City. What's the name of their team? Because I don't want people to think we're banging on Granite City Motor Park. This is Granite City
Lumberjacks.
Granite City Lumberjacks. Yeah, that's not our team. We're not fans. Of course, you're starting to look like a lumberjack, so I'm not really sure. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you got going on there. So let's jump into it. A little bit of action here. We got top stories of the week. We'll start with that, brought to you by our friends over at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, and that's right up there in lumberjack country, Ashland, Wisconsin. And they build the Galloper chassis. They do custom fabricating, powder coating, sandblasting. Proud sponsor of the #1 series in all of Wasota racing, the Northland Superstock Series. And it's that time of year. People are starting to get looking forward to 2025. You're going to need parts. You're going to need tires. You're going to need stuff built. Who do you get a hold of? Get a hold of the guys over at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating. Chris and the gang over there, great guys. They've done a lot for racing. So we want to support those that support us and support the industry. Check them out. So I think the biggest thing of the weekend, guys, as far as a racing goes, I mean, without question, the World Finals at Charlotte. And, I'll have a little bit of a recap here on the finishes, but quick takeaways. Not to get super in the weeds yet, but, if 1 or 2 things stuck out to you really quickly, then we can go a little bit more in depth after I do a little recap here. What's a couple things that stuck out to you really quick? Bert, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, obviously it has to be the RTJ Madden upset with each other, and then I guess the other thing would be Bishop wins the championship. It would have been interesting if Pierce wouldn't have got that flat tire.
It would have been a lot closer, and quite honestly, Hoffman, right? He broke that night too, and he was kind of narrowing the gap. Night 1, it was like, he might be in trouble. And I got to be honest, we'll talk a little bit more about the RTJ deal. I got $100 on Madden. Okay, the RTJ that's not a deal. He get his ass whooped for sure. Coach Kraus, quickly, couple things. What stuck out to you most over at the World Finals at Charlotte?
I got to go with the crowd, man. That was unbelievable. When you hear multiple drivers in their interviews, that's the first thing they talk about is the crowd being on that big stage. It's obviously the world final. I mean, even you saw Mike Marlar in Victory Lane. He looked like he was 16 years old standing in front of that big crowd and performing in front of that stage show. And then being in NASCAR land. You're in NASCAR land there in Charlotte. So it's good to see all them fans down there supporting dirt track racing, and obviously we knew it was going to be a big crowd, but I mean they were bragging about it, and the place was jam packed, and the vendors and all that stuff's going on around there. It's definitely everything I've heard about it. It's something that I don't think TV does that place justice. I really don't. I think that's an event that you have to be at in person to really enjoy the experience.
Well, and the thing that stuck out to me was the buildup, right? I mean, as compared to, so I think back to the Fall Classic at Ogilvy, and there's a championship coming down to the wire in the Pier Stocks, and they don't even talk about the points deal. They didn't even mention it. It's like nobody knows what's going on, and I don't know if they were just disrespecting them because it was Pier Stocks or what, but no buildup for the championship battles that were occurring. They built up the championship battles at this event in a big way. All three announcers, all three classes, all weekend long, they were keeping us informed in the middle of the race, how the points were looking, how things were shaking up, the story within the story. They did a really, really good job really focusing on the championship battles that were at hand. Very impressed with that. And then the track, right? I mean, I heard people banging, man, it was dusty. And it was dusty, but it was a I would call it a racy dusty. I mean, I'm not saying it was like super, super racy, right? It wasn't like a 10 out of 10, but the track raced better than what it looked as far as dust went. And I think there was some pretty good racing. Obviously, when you have that many races going on that many nights, you can have a couple that are like, maybe that one wasn't so good. But overall, as compared to years past, I feel like the racing overall at Charlotte this year was maybe better than it was last year, the year before. So, was it perfect? No, but it's dirt track racing. Nothing's perfect, but I think overall the racing was pretty good. A little bit of a recap there. So they had, for those of you who's wondering, they had the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, World of Outlaw Late Models, and the Beasts of the Northeast, the big block modified Super Dirt Car Series. Third in the Sprint Cars, the winners were David Gravel, night 1, Carson Macedo, night 2, and then Sunshine Tyler Courtney on night number 3. Buddy Colfoyd had a good weekend going. He had a pair of seconds in there, and then he ended up upside down on night 3. That didn't end well for him. Justin Peck with a pair of top threes in there as well. But overall, some pretty even racing. Donnie Schatz struggle bus. I mean, he had to come through the bead. He actually had provisional land there. I think he had the hard charger a couple nights. He just wasn't a really good weekend. I expected more out of Schatz. Big block modifieds. Matt Shepard, guys, had a 15-point lead going into this deal over Money Matt Williamson, and he broke on night 1. And that was a big deal because that put him like 20, 30, something like that points behind, and he never did make it up. In fact, he finished 1 spot behind Williamson the next 2 nights. So Matt Williamson stealing the championship. Your winners, Tim Fuller, and for you late model fans out there, yes, the same Tim Fuller that was in a Sweeteners Plus, right? Teammates with T-Mac. So Tim Fuller winning, and Matt Williamson, and then Anthony Perego winning on night number 3. And for you northern Minnesota drivers out there, you take a look at that car, the white and black with the fluorescent orange number. It's a throwback to me. I'm a super stock guy. That is 100% a clone copy of one of Jody Olson's old cars. And Jody Olson, big Ford guy, parked next to him for years up in Hibbing, won a lot of races. In fact, guys, his dad and Jody, they did a lot of machine work. Like they did a lot of transmissions. They did all my gears. And but I look at that car and instantaneously, I think Jody Olson when I see that. Kind of a neat throwback. And then in the late models, the big 3, RTJ, Bobby Pierce, and then Smokey Chris Madden back in action in a GR Smith ride. Madden had a good weekend, guys. He got 3rd on night 1. I don't remember what he did night 2. Then he won on night number 3, the bigger paying of the 3 nights. Madden looks pretty comfortable in that hot rod right there. Little drama. Bert will talk about that a little bit. But the points shook down like this. Late model points. Brandon Shepard held on to get her done. And Sheppy won it. Bobby Pierce had, 14 or 15 wins on the year compared to Brandon Shepard's 3. I mean, let's face it, that tire deal, if not for that, he easily wins a championship. And then he did have a couple DNFs in there. I think one of the nights he blew up was a World of Outlaw point night. I think a few of them were non-point nights. Nick Hoffman, who looked like he might steal this deal after night 1. He broke a rear end on night 2, and he ended up 3rd in that deal. Sprint cars, points were pretty It just is what it is. It didn't come down to the wire there. David Gravel with a big weekend. He got a first, a fourth, and a second on the weekend. Capped off the weekend in style. He won the championship, his first ever World of Outlaw Sprint Car Championship. Congratulations to him. Macedo second, and Donnie Schatz rounding out the top three. And then we talked about Matt Williamson, Matt Shepard 1-2, Perego third in the big block mods. So when you think about any of those races, right? So we touched a little bit on, the quick things that stuck out. Bert, touch a little bit more. What was your thoughts on that whole RTJ Madden? Now, for those of you wondering, Madden took some time off due to health issues, right? And then he got hired, and he ended up being the pit guy there. Kohler Motorsports hired him. He was crew chief there essentially for maybe a month, 2 months, or whatever it was for RTJ, and they're not friends anymore. It seems like they had a little lover's quarrel there at the end. Bert, what happened?
Yeah, well, it was in the main fireworks took place in the feature on Saturday night. I think there may have been some other things that went on the track in some other races the previous 2 nights. I didn't see those, but in the main feature Saturday night, RTJ started on the pole, I believe, and Madden started right behind him. RTJ led the first 3 laps, and then I believe it was on lap 4 coming out of 2. Madden ducked underneath them, and it looked like there was some contact, but Madden took the lead. And then in 3 and 4, I mean, RTJ just drilled him in the left rear. He was trying to spin him out, in my opinion. I'm an RTJ fan, but it looked like he was trying to spin him out, and it actually messed up RTJ, and he got up into the marbles. But then later in the race, RTJ hit him again near the end of the race. And then RTJ, I read a story. He was upset because he said Madden hit him so hard that it messed up the front suspension. I think he messed up the front suspension when he drilled him in the rear trying to spin him out when RTJ drilled him in the rear. So like I said, I'm an RTJ fan, but I don't think he has any basis for being upset in this case.
I feel like you're right. There had to have been something more to that brewing before that, because the way that they were getting after each other, Madden had no fucks given. He just kind of doored him on the way by, like, I'm going. And so I feel like there's something we're missing there that, I don't know. Madden is very type A. RTJ, he likes to win. He's really, really pouty when he's not winning. So it feels like there's something that happened there. I'm not really sure what. And quite honestly, it was probably smart by Madden. If he's going to race, he's pitting for RTJ. RTJ's smart. He's a winner. He's got a fast hot rod. Madden probably benefited as much as RTJ by that little bit of a marriage they had for a few months, because he probably took a couple things and maybe applied it to the 44, and now the 44 looked pretty darn quick. So, Coach, any thoughts on that RTJ Madden deal?
There's something happened there. Something happened between that's they just got done winning a Lucas championship together, basically, literally a couple weeks ago. And they technically should be teammates out on the racetrack. Something happened there. I don't know what it is. I'd speculate. I'd probably say Madden's probably spouting off, saying if it wasn't for me, RTJ would have never won the Lucas championship. Something down those roads. Something went down there, Bert. That he and RTJ intentionally tried to wreck him twice. Mm-hmm. He 100%. So something happened between those two. It's going to be interesting to see. We'll find out with my predictions when it comes to Sonoya. I got some good ones for you fans to keep you guys on your toes, but something went down there.
Well, and not only did RTJ try to dump him, right? He tried to get retribution. Then he gets out in victory lane. He's like, we're going to finish this in Sonoya. It's like, well, he doored you and he won, and you hit him. Like, should be kind of finished already. I think he was maybe more mad that he lost than getting hit. But yeah, you're right. There's something brewing there. So we did a draft, and so we did a draft for this deal, and we had an 8-round draft. So the results on this deal, Coach won. I'm fucking pissed. All right. So I'm pissed because in 6th round, Coach drafts Brent Larson. The only reason I'm pissed is he sniped him from me. That's who I was going to take, right? But I was at the end of the 6th round, and I ended up getting Carson Ferguson, who sucks, right? He's terrible. Literally couldn't make a feature all freaking weekend, and he screwed up my whole draft, and I wasn't able to win. Brent Larson essentially won you the draft because he got provisional land every single night. And last year, right, in 2023, they only had 4 provisionals. This year, they had 6. And he started 29th and 30th on 2 of the nights. And it's like, it's kind of, I don't know why they had so many provisionals. And I want your guys' thoughts on provisionals, okay? So I get it. I feel like there should be a set amount of provisionals. These drivers are getting, the contracted World of Outlaw guys get $800 per night show up money. Now, I think it's a little less if it's like in a triple header. I think the next 2 nights might be a little bit less, but they get tow money. They get their tires at half price. They get like 6, I think, free pit passes into the races. We got to stop letting them into every single feature. Okay. I mean, this is nothing against Brent Larson. There's other drivers out there too, but how many provisionals is too many, right? On a race, should there be 6 freaking provisionals in an A main? Is that necessary? It's like Man Bun Dan says all the time, man, there's a hell of a good race going on. They're just not part of it, right? They don't need that many provisionals. And should they be limited on how many provisionals they have during the year? They're already getting tow money to be there, right? So do they really need that many provisionals? I mean, I don't know. I think that 6 provisionals in a 30-car feature is just way too many. I think they got to cut that off. There should be a limit. What's your guys' thoughts on the provisionals?
I mean, 6 provisionals is a lot. But I mean, they sell the provisional. It's a selling point for the series to sell to the drivers to convince them to follow the entire tour. So if you take away the provisionals, you may lose 1 or 2 drivers. But I mean, yeah, you could limit it to 4, and then I mean, you get provisionals based on where you are in the point standings. And if you're that 5th guy that didn't make it, you know, and you're 5th in the points, you know, of the drivers that didn't, you just got to take your tow money and go home.
Yeah, they're already getting paid, right? They're literally getting paid as much to just show up and get their non-start, non-qualifier money. They're getting paid that much already, which is equivalent to winning a feature in Wasota country on a regular night. So they're already getting paid, right? So I don't know. And you look at the point structure. If you go from last place in the feature to like the first non-qualifier spot in the B, it's only a couple points. So they're not really gaining anything there. And if they're literally getting the provisional and they're getting 29th or 30th every night, what's the point? And not that I don't think that I can think of over the past weekend. I don't think that any of the provisional cars brought out yellows, wrecked the race. I don't think that really happened, but it just seems like there's a lot of them. Coach, any thoughts on that many provisionals?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're protecting your brand for one, okay? And you're protecting and it's basically comes down to the World Finals because you got all the Lucas guys there. You know, you're protecting your drivers that supported you all year. Then you show up to the World Finals and all of a sudden you're not in the show. You know what I mean? So it's a tough deal. And you got a lot of, remember a lot of those guys are battling for top 10, top 12 points. There's a lot of money on the line with that series too. So I don't know. I look at it and say, you know, you're protecting the brand. You're taking care of your drivers, which I love that a series is doing that. But like I said, how many is too many? When you get to the point where, I mean, those guys are back at B features. They're not even really close. So, but the flip side is they're taking care of their drivers, and at the end of the day, they can do whatever they want.
Is there any incentive for some of these drivers to improve or get any better? If they're finishing in the back of the B every night and getting like a gift, hey, we're just going to give you a blue ribbon. We're going to throw you in the feature. You can get last in that too, and we're going to pay you. There's no incentive to get better. It's like, hey, we're out there. Hey, we're here. I'm happy to be here, right? And so night 1, there was 30 starters. Night 2, there's 29 starters. Night 3, there's 30 starters. Dustin Walker, right? He was a contracted driver. He didn't get in on night number 2, right? They only had 5 provisionals on night number 2. That was kind of interesting to me. Why'd they have 30, 29, and 30? Now, maybe he said, look, I'm I'm good. Just give me my start money. He might have just opted out. I don't know that. But yeah, I don't know. I think 6 provisionals in a race is too many. I mean, there's got to be a limit, but that's just me. Put in the comments below. What do you think? Let us know what your thoughts are. How many is too many as far as provisionals? So Coach won the draft. He's kind of the king of the draft in this deal. You won 3 in a row now with these deals.
Yeah, that's my job. I am a coach. I have my own draft. I draft my team as well. So I basically just spanked all y'all. Put a whooping to you, especially Changa. I don't even know where was Changa. Where Changa finished?
Changa got second.
Yeah,
Changa got
how many
second.
points back at me?
A lot. 46.
Yeah, that's not even the same ball game. I mean, he. If I was him, I'd probably maybe look into oncoming traffic, maybe go bridge jumping, maybe something down those roads, Changa. But thanks for playing, guys. I appreciate it. I should hopefully get a trophy at some point, I would think. I don't know. Unless we're a bunch of cheapskates in this draft, in this OTGS pick'em, I would assume I'd get a trophy at the end of the year. Yeah,
well, we ain't going to talk about the pick'ems because you're kind of sucking hind tit there. So you probably might want to stick to the draft, not pick'ems. So Changa got second. Curtis got third. I got fourth. Dano, I nipped him. He got fifth. Worker B got sixth. Youper got seventh. Beefcake got eighth. Why am I missing somebody? Bert, where did you finish in this deal?
I thought I was sixth.
Yeah, you were sixth. I skip you every time. I don't know why the fuck I do that. That's the second time. So Bert got sixth. Kent got seventh. Youper got eighth. Beefcake got ninth. But here's where it gets interesting. Okay? Bromance got 10th. Man Bun Dan, your partner on the other podcast on our sister station there, right? He got last. Now, we had 8 rounds. We had 8 available drivers to pick, okay? And we all picked 8 drivers, except for Bromance, who was, I don't know what the hell he was doing, right? He picked guys, they weren't there, and then they had a repick, and then whatever. He ended up picking 6. Man Bun Dan couldn't even fucking beat Bromance, and he had 2 more drivers than him. How? Dude, I don't know, man. You got to give him some shit. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is, I'd be embarrassed, right? I would be embarrassed by that. That is absolutely disappointing right there, that you can't even beat a guy that had 2 less participants than you. That is, I don't know. I don't know what to say on that one. So let's jump into number 2. Speaking of late models here, we talked about some
Hold on.
Go ahead, Bert. What do you got?
One thing. Have you guys ever seen a sprint car roll over before they take the green flag?
Oh God, yeah. That was Hot Sauce Giovanni Selzi,
Yep.
who had a pretty good week, and on the final night, so they farm the track and they give him a few laps up high, and then they flip him a few laps down low. He broke a rear end housing, rolls over, and it cost him. I think he would have got 5th in points, and that
He was
cost
battling
him
for 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, that ended up costing him. Hey, one more thing on the draft, right? So our statistician Youper, he delayed the draft for 3 days, right? He's sitting there up in the UP doing whatever he's doing right there, probably shoveling snow. I have no idea. And you think, okay, if you're taking a couple, 2-3 days, you're probably really strategizing. Do you know who his pick was after literally delaying the draft by 3 days? RTJ in the fucking sprint car. Now get this. So I'm looking at this. I just want to pull this up. That was a 6th round pick. There was still RTJ in the sprint car? What are you doing? He was so bad in the sprint car. Don't get me wrong. It's the world of outlaw sprint cars. I mean, you're not going to jump into it and be elite. But he had 2 C mains where he didn't even get into the B. So Youper, right? Really, you're going to delay the whole draft to pick that guy? I mean, I don't know. Bert, you can go ahead and you can maybe take the extra points there. I don't know if it would have moved you up a spot or not, but yeah, if you would have double dipped on that one, it wasn't going to help you a whole lot. Let's just put it that way. So we had some speculation on the silly season of late models. We kind of talked about some rumors that we had heard, and some of this stuff has actually become confirmed. So, I mean, in case you live under a rock, maybe you haven't seen it online, but Brandon Sheppard coming home back to Rocket One. B-Shep, I think that's a good fit for him. And, that obviously leaves T-Mac out. Well, T-Mac is actually kind of staying in that Rocket realm. He's going to drive for Boom Briggs. Boom Briggs going to be primarily a car owner. I wouldn't be surprised if Boom's out there a handful of nights next year, but sounds like they're going to run together. The interesting thing here, Rocket One, driven by Brandon Sheppard, going to follow the Lucas Oil Series. Guys, that's a big hit to the World of Outlaws. That's one of their marquee drivers, and obviously the champion jumping ship going to Lucas. Surprised to see that? What do you guys think? Is that a big hit? And how big of a hit is that for World of Outlaws? And was that a surprise to see him announcing that he's going to go the other direction?
Well, I think it's a hit because, if you compare the two series, I think Lucas probably has from top to bottom more star power than World of Outlaws. World of Outlaws has the best driver with Bobby Pierce, but you lose your champion, it's a hit. You can't even promote that, last year's champion is racing with your series.
Yeah, that's interesting. And speaking of that, the guy that got second, Bobby Pierce, right? You realize he hasn't announced yet where he's going, right? He hasn't officially made an announcement that, hey, I'm going to race 2025 World of Outlaws. I'm going to go Lucas. He hasn't said nothing. Now, he claims, and who are we to judge? He says that he was literally railroaded and not guilty of doping tires. Okay. He stands by that. So him not winning the championship in World of Outlaws, if he feels in his mind, let's face it, a lot of these guys are playing with tire shit. For all I know, he could have definitely just been caught. I have no idea. But if he truly believes that he was robbed of a championship, that he feels that he was not doing something with tires, would it be surprising to see him maybe make the decision to jump over to Lucas as well?
Well, we discussed this a couple of shows ago, and it wouldn't be totally shocking, but he races down in New Zealand every year, doesn't he?
Last year I think was the first year that he did that.
Okay. I don't know if that conflicts with any of the Lucas races, if he is going to New Zealand again this year.
Right, but they race kind of all winter down there, so I'm sure he could kind of rearrange his schedule, and if he wanted to go, he could decide, hey, I'm going to go race down there the week of the Volusia stuff if I wanted to. It's going to be interesting to see. I would, if I were a betting man, right, Pierce probably go World of Outlaw racing, but I'm telling you right now, Kraus, you're a racer, right? Let's say you win a championship. You go out there, you win a championship, or let's say that you feel like you're robbed of a championship. You're in position to win a championship, and you get disqualified, and you feel like, I wasn't cheating. I got screwed. This is bullshit. What would you do?
I'd keep my mouth shut and do what RTJ did and stick it up their ass is what I'd do. Because that's basically what RTJ did this year after he was so rattled after losing the one and done last year with that big lead, and he went out there and won it this year. That's what I do with Pierce, and I'm pretty sure that's probably what he's going to do. And I think Sheppard leaving the series is going to be a no-brainer for Pierce to stay on there. Flip side is, who's going to jump over to World Outlaws now and go and say, God, B-Shep's gone. Might be more money, more opportunities to win over there. Going to be an interesting scenario. So it's really going to be interesting to see what Rocket One does now with Ebert, or Dan Ebert, Boom Briggs, or McCready and Mark Richards. They're Rocket One. They're going up and down the road together. Obviously with Fox Shocks was big, and that was one of the big deals. Why Ebert went with the Rockets, because he's got the Fox Shocks on all those cars too. So be real interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, good luck to them, but I'm more interested to see who's going to say, "Hey, Sheppard's not on there now. Who's going to go run World Outlaws now?"
Well, that segues right into the next guy. So Brandon Overton, right? We talked about he actually moving into Lucas, or he's moving into the Longhorn Factory ride, right? Well, he said that they're going to follow a national tour. but they haven't announced which one yet either. Would it make more sense for Brandon Overton to jump over and race the World of Outlaw? Or would it make more sense for him to follow the Lucas Oil Series?
To me, it would make more sense to follow the World of Outlaw series. He's racing a house car for Longhorn. When you race the house car, they want you to win races and they want that car to perform well. And I mean, yes, Bobby Pierce is in the World of Outlaws, but you don't have Davenport, you don't have RTJ. I just think he has a better chance at more success in the Outlaw series than the Lucas series.
Do you think he has a better opportunity for wins going head to head with Pierce every week or with RTJ and company?
He's got a chance of winning on Lucas than he does at Pierce. I'm going to tell you that right now. The flip side, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, Bert, and say Longhorn's going to race against the Rocket One house car is what they're going to do. They're not going to go. They want to beat them. That's who they want to beat, and that's what they want to do. So interesting scenario. It could play out both ways. Who knows? Maybe they're going to say, hey, let's go mop up over. Let's go run with Bobby, and let's go mop up over on the World Outlaws. Who knows? But knowing the Longhorn guys, I don't think they're going to really put up with Rocket's making a statement here. There's no doubt about it. Mark Richards ain't no dummy. He's making a statement here, and it's going to be a real fun, exciting offseason, and then obviously going to be super excited to wait till things pan out in January.
And then another guy, right, this past weekend here who had a hell of a good weekend, Chris Smokey Madden announced that he's going to be running the G.R. Smith ride. Of course, Max McLaughlin drove for him this year. That marriage is done. Not sure what Max is going to be doing, but Chris Madden ran really good this past weekend. He's going to run all 3 nights this weekend coming up. And doesn't sound like he's going to necessarily follow a national series. It sounds like he's going to run more selective and bigger type shows. Do you think he's going to stick with that, guys, or do you think Madden's going to kind of lump himself into one of the series?
I think he'll probably stick with that. I don't know if I don't know if he likes racing a series. Just based on some of his comments and actions and stuff. I'm not sure if he likes hauling up and down the road all over the country. If he can just stay closer to home and then just race the big shows wherever they are.
He's kind of got his own version of the fun tour as well. That's the thing with the series, right? I mean, they pay good money and there's some good perks, right? You get the travel money, you get all that provisionals, but let's face it, everybody has certain tracks they really like and certain tracks that they're like, I really don't like that place. And if you're part of a series, the ones that you don't like, guess what? You have to go there too, right? If you're going to follow a series. So I guess we'll have to wait to see what Smokey Chris Madden does. The biggest thing probably before we get into the Wasota stuff here, holy shit, was the internet buzzing. So we talked last week, we had a fan ask, or a fan kind of reached out and said, hey, you mentioned that the XR shows maybe don't quite have the car counts this year as they've had in the past. You think maybe it's something to do with drivers not getting paid in a timely fashion and people getting pissed off? Well, wow, did the internet go crazy? So Peyton Taylor, I think he's from down in Batesville, Arkansas area, does a little promoting himself. He's a mod racer typically. He had a Facebook Live. He had some comments, some dialogue back and forth, and the internet went wild. And to watch all that, you can go to Peyton Taylor's Facebook page. He did a live and kind of touched on what's going on there. But, man, did he call out XR. And, basically what it come down to is exactly like we said on the show last week. I mean, these drivers are not getting paid in a timely fashion. We've had several people to reach out. Bert, you had people reach out to you. I had people reach out to me saying, hey, I ain't got paid yet. My friend, this person, that person, they haven't been paid yet. We're not talking a couple weeks. We're talking 2-3 months, right? Kraus, remember last year we talked about, people were getting, or maybe the year before, people were getting pretty irate with Wasota after the 100 because they weren't getting their checks. And I think that was 2 weeks maybe? Something like that. It wasn't like a majorly long deal, but it was a couple weeks and drivers were like, where's my money? I'm broke. I need my money, right? And that's 2 weeks. Well, when you're talking 2-3 months or longer, That is just, I mean, you can't do that. That's not industry standard, right? That's just not a thing. And, quite honestly, Kraus, I mean, have you ever been in a situation in racing where, hey, I mean, we're a little tight on cash, kind of need this money to keep going? I mean, when you're talking getting paid here, I mean, that's a big deal, and so I can tell you right now, he's never wronged me. I've never had a bad deal with Barry at all. I mean, I've known Barry for a long time, and I've heard a lot of things, and a lot of people say things, and shit, they say things about me too. So it is what it is. But the fact of the matter is, I wouldn't have raced his shows. I would not have. Great. I couldn't have. Even if I wanted to race his shows, I wouldn't have been able to. Because when I raced, I was flat broke, right? I had no money. I paid to get in, and I'm like, boy, I hope I make enough money. And this is true story, guys. When I was racing for national championships, I wrote checks all freaking weekend. Wrote them all weekend, knowing full out that, all right, negative 360, negative 420. And I'm like counting it down going, oh boy, I better have a good weekend here because I got to cover this shit on Monday. Well, if I wrote them checks all weekend and I race and I have a good night, and it could be a couple $1,000 or 50,000 or whatever. If it's 3 months later and I'm not getting paid, I am literally about ready to lose my shit, right? And there's some dialogue on there, and if you read through the comments section, I mean, it's a who's who. There's some notable people in the racing industry that are like been saying this all along, right? We've been saying you can't be robbing Peter to pay Paul, and he didn't pay me, and man, I tell you what, it's a bad deal out there right now, and he's really, really getting a black eye over this deal. But on the flip side, okay, is it fair to say that he changed the industry a couple of years back, 2021? I mean, it was pretty common that pretty much a big race and all the races were 10 grand to win, right? I mean, that was kind of a thing in late model, and all of a sudden 2021 comes out, he's got all these 50 grand to win races, and it's like, I'm changing the landscape, and pretty soon everybody's paying more. That was a big part of why all these big money shows are happening now, was he kind of started that trend. Not that there wasn't 50 grand to win races and stuff before that, but he kind of brought it to the forefront, and everybody kind of had to up their ante, and then he kind of went by the wayside. I think his stuff was typically 30 this year. So not everything that he's done is bad. I mean, I get it. They talk about it on the live, and you can watch that, and there's a lot of things that I agree with that they said on there. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, there's not a lot of people out there putting their necks on the line either, putting together these big shows and doing that. And quite honestly, unless you're a guy that has a big bankroll, right? Most people don't have that kind of money just sitting around going, hey, I'm gonna have this big show and I'm good. I got all the money in the bank. I'm good. I'm rich. Well, if a guy that doesn't have that kind of money sitting around decides they want to do something like that, sometimes they got to rob Peter to pay Paul, and they kind of got to do this. Now, to the best of my knowledge, and I don't know this is good, I could be totally off on this. I don't know that he's actually stiffed anyone necessarily and not paid them. I think it's more of a, we're paying you way, 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 way later, right, type of deal, which that's a problem all by itself. But how much of this is jealousy too? You see a few of them people in the comments, and I'm not going to get into names. Everybody can go on and read that themselves, but there's some top industry people in the comments section kind of like throwing their words in on this deal. How much of it was because Barry's kind of always had that like no fucks given attitude, right? I'm going to do whatever I want and take it or leave it. He don't give a shit who he steps on. And there's a reason. He's burnt a lot of bridges along the industry. He has, but I don't know that he cares. He's just going to do what he does, and he doesn't care who he steps all over. Well, he's done some pretty cool things. He really has. And part of it, do you think part of it is some of these people are kind of jealous of some of the things that he's done? And then that kind of fuels the fire for them to kind of chime in on this deal. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be saying how people feel without actually knowing how people feel. But I think once the snowball gets rolling, people start talking, then other people feel like, okay, it's all right. I was burned in the past. It's all right for me to talk now because other people are talking. So I think once that snowball starts rolling, it just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah, and it took off like wildfire. That went viral, quick, fast, and in a hurry. And again, there's a few things. He made some really good points in there. And Kraus, we've talked about this. The Wasota 100 does this, right? We have different promoters in our area that kind of have the same mantra. Well, we're going to charge you to get in. We're going to charge you for your four-wheeler. We're going to charge you for this, and we're going to charge you for that. And that's another big deal. It's like racers only have so much money, and he made a very good point. And don't get me wrong, he's done some really cool stuff, but all of these promoters, and I get it, you're trying to generate funds to pay the big money, but if you're just really reallocating wealth, you're not really accomplishing anything. All these extra fees is driving people nuts, and the fact of the matter is that compound with, well, I'll just pay you when I feel like it. I mean, and Kraus, if I came to Viking Speedway as a pit guy or a fan, because drivers get in free at the Viking Speedway. But if I was a pit guy, right, or if I came in as a racer and I had 4 pit guys with me, and I said, all right, dude, I know it's what is it, $30 to get in the pits there? Is that what it is? All right, $120 I owe you for 4 pit guys. Jeff, here's the deal. I'm going to go ahead and just give me an IOU. I'm going to pay you later to get into your racetrack. Don't worry about it, though. I got you. I'm good for it. Is that how you guys operate a business at Viking Speedway, or are you like, sorry, guy, I mean, you got to pay to get in. It's kind of the way it is. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, you'd be escorted out of the place by security, thrown in your truck, and told to go home. Is how that would go down.
Yeah, so I mean, on one side, you can't be the guy that is like, hey, I'm going to pay you later, but I want everybody to pay me now, right? You pay me now, but I'm going to pay everybody else later. And I think something's going to have to change because let's face it, Barry's also been the guy, right, that is nothing. He doesn't really seem to do anything 2 years in a row, right? And there could be a lot of reasons for that. I don't know, right? I'm not going to speculate on that, right? To each their own. Anybody can speculate on that, but he doesn't see. Nothing seems to be consistent, right? And you match that, and maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know, right? But when you match that together, it's like, man, I mean, what's the future look like? I mean, I know they got the Duel in the Desert this weekend, and we saw some people post, well, I made my life easier. I'm not going to Vegas. I'm not supporting this. There was even people on there going, I'm canceling XR, and I'm not saying do that or whatever. But man, oh man, I mean, he really, really pissed off some people. And there's some notable people in the racing industry. And when there's that many notable people that are on the same side of this deal, he's going to, I think that he's going to have to come out and make some kind of a statement. I mean, he could sit back and be like, I'm just going to ignore this and hopefully it goes away and I'll pay everybody else off. And, when I can, and I'm going to forget about this. Does he almost need to come out and be like, look, hey, here's my side of this deal? And I mean, would that be the best thing to do? Or do you think he'd just get straight torched if he even tried to do that? He'd probably have to turn the comments section off on his Facebook video, right? But do you think he should do some kind of statement, or do you think he's going to live with the no fucks given? I do what I do. And he's always ran that way. Do you think that's the best approach for him? What do you think?
Coach, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I to do it the right way and the professional way, you definitely, like you said, Ryan, you're dealing with months. We're into November, and there's guys that haven't been paid for months. That's a completely different ball game than, a few weeks. And, like we said, when you're dealing with stock car guys and sport mod guys and, some of these crate model guys, you're not talking big checkbooks here. They're expected, and you got to pay an arm and a leg to get in. You want to get paid right away, recoup some of that money that you had spent. So I would assume that he's going to, because social media is torching him right now. To come out and say, hey, whether you apologize and who knows. First off, make sure and tell it that it's true. I would assume it is. If someone hasn't got paid, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars here. Make sure that's the case, but I would assume that he's going to. And big thing is you got to make it right.
So my sources told me that RTJ did get paid this past week. So apparently there's been some correspondence, and that $100,000 to win deal that he won that stock car race down at Farley. From what I understand, that check has been received now, and I don't know if he was driving for Peyton Taylor. Was that he might have been driving for? I'm not really sure, but RTJ had 100. I think that was the one. But from what I understand, he's been paid now. But there's a lot of people that have not, right? So he's got to make that right. And if it were me, I mean, you almost got to get a plan of action here. How are we going to make this right? But then you need to come out and say, look, hey, I get it. Not an industry standard. I'm going to make sure everybody gets covered. And he's got so much hate mail coming his way that he probably needs to maybe let it kind of tone down just a little bit and then come out after Vegas and maybe have a statement, because he's obviously got a big show going on out there. But man, I tell you what, that was grab a box of popcorn, right, and jump on to Peyton Taylor's page, and wow, that's all I can say.
Well, and to explain it in a way to non-racers, it would be like you working a week at work and not being paid until 60 days later. I mean, would you go to work tomorrow if you knew you weren't going to be paid until 60 days later?
I'm going to go with a no. And I get it. You know, they're different contractors. That's kind of how it works, right? Building a house,
right,
paid later, blah, blah, you know, whatever. But in a traditional deal, especially when it's industry standards, right? When everybody else pays right away, or usually within a week or 10 days, that's kind of what you're used to and what you know and what you do. If you do anything way outside the norm, you've probably got to at least let people know in advance that, hey, this is going to be the situation. So that way they can decide, hey, can I race that show and then not get paid for 3 months? If you can be okay with that, great. And then you know going in. But if you don't know that going in, then it's a little bit different deal. And again, I mean, he's done some cool shit. I mean, 20,444 to win for late models up in Ashland with that XR Northern Storm deal, right? I mean, you know, so I mean, he's done a lot of really cool stuff. The Pennsboro deal was cool, right? What was that other track? The one where Junior was at down south, the old NASCAR track.
Oh, was that North Wilkesboro?
Yeah, North Wilkesboro. That deal was cool. Bringing the Bristol deal. I mean, and I get it. You know, some people are like, oh, that's a money grab or whatever. And I get it. I mean, you got to make money, and them shit's probably expensive, but he's done some really cool things in his defense. He really has. It's just this one thing it's not cool. You gotta fix it. As a broke race car driver, right? This is not a cool deal. You got to pay these guys. This is a bad deal because, Kraus, it affects other racetracks as well, right? I mean, if you're racing and you spent all that money to get to some of these shows and you aren't getting your money back out of this, you're not getting paid. How many of these drivers maybe didn't race the next week or next couple of weeks or missed other shows because they didn't have that money? So now you're not just affecting the racers, you're affecting other racetracks, local racing. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. So I don't know. I think he's got some work to do. He's got to fix it. He's got to make it right, and he's gonna have to prove himself again. And he's done it before, so hopefully he can do it again. But we'll see what happens. So the biggest news of the week in our area was the Wasota meetings. But first, a little shout out here to Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So Buck is actually in the Hall of Fame, the NASA, Aerospace NASA Hall of Fame for lubricants. In fact, he's the only person in the NASA Hall of Fame specifically for lubricants. And he has everything from tire treatments, right, to lots of different stuff there. But he has oils and gear oil and assembly lube. I mean, check them out online. You can go to their Facebook page. You can go on over to their website, or you can give Chad a call, 507-828-3536. And he's the regional rep. And you can learn about all the products they have to offer. There's a lot of different things there that would be great for your racing industry, for your personal vehicles. There's a lot of different stuff they have. That's Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So, Kraus, I'm going to let you kind of start out here. So you actually you're the promoter, on the board there at the Viking Speedway. Wasota had their annual meetings this past weekend in different meetings. It was completely different than any other year because the promoters no longer vote on car rules, right? So that made it totally different. Your takes, I want your initial thoughts on how the meetings went. And I have some notes here on like different items and different stuff that we can talk about or whatever. But why don't you go ahead and just start out with like, how did you feel about the meetings? And what stuck out to you, and what are some key things that you got from the Wasota annual meetings this past weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. It was well, you said it first, Ryan. It was just a different feel this year, just a little bit different atmosphere. Last year we had the whole rod thing going down, and the challenge series lost a bunch of money. You know what I mean? It was just kind of more of a negative effect this year. And tell you what, this year was a completely different feeling. There was a lot of promoters that actually spoke up and said, God, it feels different. It was much more positive vibe. I really think getting the rules committee getting the rules committee to take care of the rules is huge. Obviously we still have some issues there that we're dealing with, and with the teching and things like that. But I really feel that we're going to get that taken care of. But it was, as far as the administrative side of things, I thought the conversations we had about things were awesome. And going back to redraw, great conversation with that, great conversation with the point average deal, great conversation with the points system. I know Ryan, you liked your
I'm gonna start, pause you for a second. You talk about redraw. I got to be honest, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of in my entire life. I am so disappointed that they got rid of the point average and went to redraw. Right. And I remember back when I raced, we had point average. I'd start in the back of the heats, right? Had to start 12th in the feature. And now I'm a fan. And if I had to tear up all my shit all them years, and now I can't sit back and watch everybody tear up their shit anymore, I'm disappointed. All right. That is sarcasm. All right. For all you right now that are like, I'm going to fucking kill this guy. I'm kidding. I am so pumped they got rid of that affirmative action lineup system where they reward the guy that can't walk and chew gum, spins out all the time. Oh, we're going to put you on the front row. No, now it's redraw, and it's the same number of cars in the redraw as they currently have at a redraw show. So that's good. And no more sandbagging. Super pumped about that. We know that people racing out there for points. Oh, man, I'm running fourth, or I got a flat tire. I'm just not going to race. I'm going to start in front next week. That shit's gone. There ain't no more of that, right? So I'm pumped. So, hey, hats off. And I believe that was a promoter vote, correct? And I don't know whichever promoter. I think probably Granite City, I think, is the one who actually had that on their agenda, I think. But the fact of the matter is the vast amount of racers are super, super happy that the point average system is gone. And, man, it is about time. So back at you.
Yeah. So, like I said, just good conversations, and you could go in depth with these conversations. You didn't have to fly through everything, just because you were getting administrative stuff and rule stuff in the past. So really good conversations with all that. Just talking about different lineups and what work, and we were able to talk more about safety things too. I know that's part of the tech deal, but safety is part of racetracks too. With teching, and actually it was Jimmy Mars we talked about, making the halos higher so these drivers' heads aren't sticking out their cars. So we had a great in-depth conversation about that. So I thought it was very productive. Obviously, we'll get into the Hoosier tire deal a little bit more in depth too. And I think at the end of the day, first up, I never got a chance. I went over and talked to the Hoosier guys. I talked to Rob Palmer. I did not get a chance to go over talk to Todd Good, Tom Wagaman. Como Joe was part of that too, and Billy was a part of that Hoosier tire deal. Did a pretty darn good job, Ryan, with that Hoosier deal. There was a lot of racers really worried about that, Ryan and Bert. A lot of racers contacted the One to Go show saying, "What's going on here, guys? We're super worried about tire prices. We might not be able to race next year if tires are $200." So great job by the Wasota board, to with the Hoosier deal. Like I said, overall, I just thought it was just a just more relaxed meeting. We got more out of it, more in depth. Overall, I just thought it was a really good meeting and got a lot of administrative stuff. I think that's what tracks need to talk about more is administrative stuff with Wasota, getting everybody on the same page and just listening to what other people do and what works for them. And I missed the roundtable discussion, Ryan. I know Como Joe had a little roundtable. I had to go. We had a hockey game, so I missed that. But it sounds like there was a lot of good ideas with that. Just talking about, what to do with Hornet drivers and pure stock drivers that win too much. And, there was just a lot of really good conversations and a lot of good talk that came out of the meeting. So glad I got to be a part of it and be there. And I think there was about almost 30 tracks there. So that was a decent number of tracks. And as usual, Rob Palmer ran the show and did a good job handling that. And, Nikki, Callie, all the board, I thought they did a very good job of running the whole meeting.
All right. So I'll break a couple of these things down here. So redraw, we talked about that. That's a great deal right there. I think that is just good for everybody. And I get it, right? The devil's advocate deal of this whole deal is, well, I mean, if you're Shane Zabrowski and you draw the front row every single night and you're the fastest car there, it's going to be awfully boring. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully there's more than one fast car at your track. And I don't believe a person should be penalized for being good. That's just stupid. I mean, if you're not falling out of races, if you're consistently running good, they shouldn't make you start in the back every night. That has been wrong. I felt that's been wrong forever. A lot of equipment has been tore up unnecessarily. I told Buzzy, I said, man, that's going to hurt your business. How many people tore the side off their race car going to the front because of the point average? Now they get to redraw. And he kind of laughed. He goes, I'm perfectly okay with no more point average, he said. Now, the old point system is back. So, Bert, you're a points guy. I'm a points guy, right? The point system that they had here the last couple of years, you need a PhD from Harvard to literally even understand it. Like, I could not tell you, I'm a points guy. Like, I really follow points, and I could not tell you right now exactly how the last one worked. I know it was 100 points to win, 95 for second, and then it went to like 91 or something. It was like 5, 4, 3. It broke down in different numbers. Now it is super simple. It's 35 points to win the feature, and then it goes 33, 32, 31, 30, 29. It goes down by 1. Simple. Heat race points. Hey, guess what? Now people that are racing for points, heat races matter again. We've been saying that forever. People can take a nap during heat races because they don't matter. Well, now they do because you get points. If you're a points racer, it matters. So that's a good deal. I'm super pumped. It used to be 57 in a sticker. Now it's 58 in a sticker because they have that extra point in there for 26 or more cars. The tracks that voted that in, hey, hats off to you. I think everybody was kind of tired of not really understanding how things work. Super, super simple. You talked about Jimmy Mars Demel and them talking about the roll cages. Now, I was informed, sources tell me that certain tech officials and whatnot, they said that at the topless, they visibly observed people out there racing with their helmet above the roll cage. They visibly saw it. Now, Kraus, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a current rule in place from the top of the roof to the ground. There's a certain height. You can't be over that. So there's a max height on the roof. Well, these cars are built within that spec. You take a guy like AJ Demel, Don Eischen, right? Some of these guys that are 6'3", 6'4", whatever they are, they're really tall, right? And they're trying to fit in there. It's a problem, right? So they're sitting in the cars and they're not built tall enough. So from how I understand it is the folks at MB are like, look, we got to change this rule so we can raise the roll cage up to make it safer for all racers. So I believe that is something the tech committee is kind of looking at, and they're going to kind of do some homework. So that's a good thing. That's a big, big safety factor. Drivers should not be racing with your helmet above the roll cage. And if you're a racer out there racing with your head above the roll cage, shame on you. Right? That's just stupid, right? I mean, that's about as dumb as Tua continuing to play football after 700 concussions, right? You're asking for trouble. You can literally, in the off season, take your car to any chassis builder and they can fix your car. They can extend the roll cage. There's things that they can do to make your car safer. It's sad that we have to actually tell people that, but I get it. I mean, I cared more about winning than safety myself, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying that I was alone or people are alone in that, but it's good that they recognize that that's an issue, and it looks like they're moving forward on that. The Hornet deal, so I believe there's a rule in place if you win 2 national championships in the Wasota Hornets, you're no longer allowed to run that class. Is that correct, Carlos? Is that how that works?
Yes, that is correct.
So that means Justin Shalitsky is out. He's no longer, from what I understand, I texted him. He said, yeah, no, he's not planning to race next year. Now, I understand that rule. I don't like, there's part of it I don't like, right? Part of it I do like, part of it I don't like. They were talking, I know there was tracks that brought up, X amount of feature wins in a class, you got to move up. And it's like, I don't know who's paying for this stuff, right? I mean, there's people that are in a specific class because they cannot afford to move up to another class. So, Kraus, you're the winningest driver in Viking Speedway history in Wasota Superstocks. And I get it. The last couple of years, you kind of been more on the promoting side and whatever, and you ain't been winning the last couple of years. But let me ask you this. When you were winning a bunch of races and you'd been in supers for quite a while, did you have any of the people going, well, fucking Kraus, when are you going to move up? You're in a super stock forever. Why aren't you in a modified? Why aren't you in a late model? What are you doing in a super stock? Did you ever have that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of back when the late models were still at Viking. You kind of went, it was B mod to mods, kind of supers to late models, 100%. And it's the reason why I'm still in the super stocks. I'm about tapped out running a super stock these days. I can't go to a mod. I can't go to a late model financially. So and that's basically what it comes down to with a lot of drivers. So, and what we talked about, the 14 Hornet tracks, there's 14 Hornet tracks there. We all talked. We decided we're just going to monitor it because we were going to cap it at 100 wins. I'm like, wow, 100 wins is a lot of wins. There's not a lot of drivers out there that have 100 wins in a class. That's a lot of wins. And then we were talking 75, 50. We decided we're just going to monitor it. Because, like you said, Ryan, all of a sudden someone hits 50 wins. What do you do? Quit racing? And there's guys, there was guys last year that were only running a certain amount of shows because they didn't want to get past a certain amount of wins or get a certain amount of points or, you know what I mean? So all you're doing there is hurting the local tracks from having another car at it too. So we're just going to monitor it and see how things play out. But the 2 national championships thing is still in there. That was kind of the Dustin Verkus rule. I remember Dustin Verkus won 2 in a row there. He went from a full blown late model with a stacker trailer to a Hornet, and yeah, I don't think Pat Dorr is going to be in a Hornet next year, Bert. But that's not that. This is the same situation, but that's kind of what happened there. A late model guy going to a Hornet and then kick everybody's butt. So it's just something you need to monitor. And people stating there's $20,000 Hornets out there. Ryan, we did our homework on that. I don't think that's false from what you've been told, what I've been hearing too. So we're doing what we're supposed to, just monitor it. You know what I mean? We get it can get out of control, and if all of a sudden someone's kicking your butt and you're gonna not race while Shane Zabrowski's been beating a lot of people, and there's been other drivers out, Buzzy and whoever else, guys don't quit racing just because of that. So we're just going to monitor it and hopefully come up with a good situation and try to get more people into racing since that's a starter class.
Yeah, Zabrowski and TPO Door, they got to move up to Lucas Oil. No longer allowed to race with Wasota late models. I mean, that's the thing. I got that heat all the time, too. I won 4 straight Wasota national titles in a super stock, and everybody's like, oh, when you get to move up? Why are you still in a super stock? Well, I did move up, and it was because I had a great sponsor, Frank Beffra, and then the economy hit, and that went away, and then I'm like, holy shit, was that a mistake? Like, I can't afford a modified. There's no way with what I was doing, and I liked the super stock class. I should have stayed in that class. I had more fun in the super stock class. Mods were fun, too, but the budget made more sense there, and that's what racers are. I mean, if there's not a lot of alternatives, I mean, it's either they're going to race this class or they're going to quit racing. They quit racing, their fans quit coming. It hurts everybody. So that's a tough one right there, slippery slope. Now, Bert, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of a business out there, say, that somebody's kind of been there a long time, and certain businesses like, you know what, we're gonna do some shit to try to push this guy out the door, right? Like, they're probably past their stay, probably want this guy gone. So then they start giving them different job description or making different rules or protocols. You've heard about people that have been in a job a long time, and it's like, hey, we're going to do what we got to do to try to get this person to quit and push them out. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that happen in person, but yeah, I've heard of that.
Wasota's pulling that bullshit right now, Bert. Little bit disappointed in Wasota. They're pulling that bullshit with their rulemaking process. They're targeting a friend of mine. Okay, literally targeting a friend of mine right now, and I believe they're trying to push him out the door. And I don't know if I should stand for it. I got to be honest. I'm a little pissed off about it. Right. So they come up with this new rule in the super stock that says if your nose piece is over 3 inches higher on one side, that is no longer legal. They got to be within 3 inches of each other. And they're claiming that the intent of the rule is they don't want the big taper like a late model where the right front's, a foot higher than the left. But I don't think that's it, because at the end of a race, right? Let's say that, I don't know, Kraus runs into a fucking tractor tire on the left front and folds the left front down. Now the left front is 6-7 inches lower than the right front because he's blind. He can't see. He's getting old. He can't see anymore. He drives into a tire. And then he comes across the scales at a race, right? And they're like, look, your left front's about dragging the ground. Your right front's 12 inches off the track. You're disqualified. That's bullshit. Or I've raced against Kraus. If he doesn't hit a tractor tire, he probably hit a fucking car. So his right front's way up in the air. He punted somebody. So now he's got the right front's literally 16 inches higher than the left front. That is a automatic DQ at the end of the race because it's over 3 inches. I believe they put that in the rules to target Jeff Kraus. And it's probably because of his affiliation with the show. He's got the One to Go Show sticker on the car. Bert, but they didn't stop there. They went one step further, and they're like, well, I tell you what, maybe Kraus ain't fast enough to run into people anymore. So we're going to put a rule in there that you have to have a straight line across going from the center of the front tire to the rear deck. The rear cannot be over an inch higher. It has to basically be flat all the way across. Well, now if he ain't going fast enough, somebody drives into the back of him, shoves the right rear up, he's going to get DQ'd for that. I believe that they put this shit in place specifically to target Jeff Kraus, and I'm not going to stand for it. I got to be honest with you. I'm disappointed. And I don't know if this was Pogo. I don't know if this was Kenny. I don't know if this was Billy. I don't know. But the fact is they don't like the show, and they know Kraus is on it. And is this their way, Bert, of trying to push him out the door so he just says, fuck it, I'm going to get DQ'd anyway. There's no sense racing anymore. I don't know. And I got to be honest, I'm a little bit, I'm concerned, right? And Kraus is like, well, I'm the promoter at Viking. They ain't going to DQ me. Well, I mean, Pogo and Kenny just show up wherever, right? They just show up. Billy shows up. You're DQ'd. And now they have a legitimate reason because it's no longer an unwritten rule. This is a written rule. Okay, so I don't know. A lot of people upset about the nose piece rule. Most cars out there, the nose pieces are fairly flat, but I know there are some cars out there now that the new late model noses, a lot of them, they're built with a big taper in them, and I know they're trying to focus on the air deal or whatever. And at the end of the day, it's a nuisance. It's a pain in the ass. It's just another rule change, and I kind of get what they're doing, I guess. Overall, it's probably not going to affect a whole hell of a lot. But on the flip side, there are some chassis out there that they run with a lot of roll. They run with a lot of tilt to get the right side really down in the ground and the left side up. And they're making some rules. And I don't know if they're trying to do an air deal. I still believe it's targeting Jeff Kraus. I don't know. But Kraus, you saw that. Any other major rules? Talk about the tire stuff, Nick. But any other major rule stuff. I know there wasn't a real lot. I know Wasota put a post out with all the rule updates. There's I know some Mod 4 guys pretty upset about the engine rules that they put into place there. There's some people pretty upset about that. I'm not an engine guy, so I don't know much about it, but I know that I had some people reach out about that. But they did in a pretty timely fashion put those rule updates up on the website and up on the Facebook page, so you can kind of read through them and see what you think. Looking through here, I guess the biggest thing was tires, right? So the biggest thing was tires. So we talked about this and we beat on this, right? We definitely beat on this. 100% beat on this deal over the last couple of years. Wasota was locked into a contract with Hoosier. They were locked into a set price, and then they up and decide, hey, we're gonna up at 9%. That was not a board deal. I said that from the get-go. That was a promoter made a decision that we're gonna make a motion. Another promoter backed it up, and we're gonna up that by 9%, basically giving a handout to Hoosier. And they're like, oh man, they're gonna take care of us. They're gonna take care of us. Now, overall, I think the board did a good job with the contract, but I got to start here to get back to where I'm at. Because they're like, Hoosier's going to take care of us. We took care of them. They're going to take care of us. Okay, well, that turned out to be a complete and utter bunch of bullshit. Okay, because the original bid they brought back to Wasota for like the new contract, I haven't seen the numbers. They would not give them to us, right? Because they were so ugly, Bert, that Wasota's like, are you out of your fucking minds, right? Like, that's when they decided to talk to American Racers and get some quotes there. And they're like, this is bullshit. That is absolutely not happening, right? And it was so bad. It was so bad, right, that they're working back and forth. And I'm going to give mad props specifically. I don't know all the people involved, but I know that Todd Good, Tom Wagaman, both were heavily involved with the negotiation process to get the tire contract, okay? And they came back and they said, no, absolutely not. We're not doing that. And Hoosier comes back, and they're going back and forth. A lot of back and forth in there. And finally it got to the point, it's like, we're fucking done talking to you. We are not talking to Hoosier anymore. And they made that very clear. I think Tom did in front of the room. Like, we're done talking to you. Like, and Bert, they literally went 2 weeks. They wouldn't reply to a phone call, an email. They flat out ghosted Hoosier. They're like, we're done with this negotiation. You need to like get it together, because this is not happening. We're not agreeing to this. And they quit. They quit talking. They went right over Shannon and went right to corporate. They went to the head honchos of Hoosier to like, we want a better deal. This is not appropriate. We're not doing this. We're not agreeing to this. And they went above and beyond, and it ended up coming out. Now, these numbers are, I think they're accurate, right? But they might be they might be close. I was told, right, that the tires are going to go up roughly $6 in 2025, another $6 roughly in 2026, and then another $7 above and beyond that in 2020. I guess it would be 2027, and then 27, 28, 29 are going to be the same. So $6, $7, add tax into there, you're looking at over $20 increase on tires. Is it a great deal? No, it's not a great deal. $170 tire is not a great deal. Is it great compared to other deals in the industry? UMP for essentially the same tire is $200 at the parts truck. It's $198 to $202 depending on what part truck you go to. So we're essentially getting the same tire for the next 5 years, $30+ cheaper than what they're getting. Now, I don't believe that it was going to be that way if you would have had the wrong people on the board. And I'm not saying like bad people, just people that maybe weren't business minded, people that didn't understand numbers, right? If you had the wrong people on the board, they might have just said, well, look, that's what they're offering us. That's what we got to do. And you racers would have all been fucked. Okay. But here's the positive thing. Over the past several times, there's been more and more business-minded people voted onto the Wasota board so that when something like this happens, they can negotiate and say, look, no, they understand these guys run. Tom Wagaman, Todd Good they run $1 million. They deal with big business. They understand numbers. They know how to negotiate. The average person, guys, couldn't do that. The average if you don't work with big numbers on a daily basis, you would not be qualified to even have those conversations. So be very thankful, right, that Todd Good, Tom Wagaman were business-minded, and they looked at it and they said, look, I know it's not perfect, right? They don't want a $170 tire in a super stock or modified either, but it's far better than what it could have been, right? And so I got to give them props on that, and that's good news, right? That is good news. And I mean, at the end of the day, right, I'm sitting there on the devil's advocate on that is $170 tire in a couple of years here is not good news. I mean, Hoosier is essentially still fucking the racer because you can't tell me that it costs more to build a tire that lasts one night or 2 nights on a good night, right? It does not cost more to build that tire than it costs to build a street radial that you get 60,000 miles out of, okay? That's not a thing. So Hoosier, at the end of the day, they're still screwing everybody in the racing world, but your hands are tied, right? You got Hoosier, you got American Racer, and from my sources and the people, they're pretty tight into this deal. The Hoosier deal was far better. Money wise, it was a better deal, and it's way, way, way better than what it could have been, right? And if the wrong people, I can't reiterate this enough, if the wrong people were on the board at the time, a less qualified person, you racers would be paying a lot more than what you're going to be paying. So be very thankful for Todd Good, Tom Wagaman on what they did to get the prices down to where it's at least somewhat reasonable. So anything to add to that there, Coach?
Well, and like I said too, Ryan, we had drivers reaching out to us that sometimes they're afraid to contact their promoter or go on Facebook. And there's a lot of drivers really, really worried about this tire deal. And so it was good that they spoke up, they talked to their promoters. And it got to a lot of promoters, Ryan, and we talked about it multiple times on this show. It was a game changer really for Wasota, in my opinion. It's saved a lot of people, a lot of racers, in my opinion, and I know it does yours too, Ryan. So I was glad that the drivers spoke up, that we spoke up, and wanted to voice our opinion, and got that out there at the end. I know Wasota made some comments about there's too much stuff on social media about this deal. Well, at the end of the day, it definitely helped you. And again, thanks to Tom and Todd, and like I said, and it sounds like Billy was involved in that too. And so was Como Joe got involved to push some numbers together too. So thanks to all them for doing what they do. And, and thanks for the drivers and all the promoters getting on the same page and, making this as best as it possibly could be.
Absolutely. I do have something to add there. I was told by sources, you were there. They said that they asked Shannon up front, okay, what's the numbers going to be? How much are they going to cost? And he kind of sat there with a dumb look on his face and wouldn't give anybody an answer. And the board and somebody on the board had to come out and say, it's going to cost this. I don't, this Shannon guy, right? Shannon Rush with Hoosier. I don't trust him. I think he's kind of a snake myself. No transparency at all. And it sounds like the promoters are like, no, we want some freaking numbers, because they were going to get hammered. Everybody knew that immediately when the meetings got done, everybody's going to be like, what do the tires cost? And he, for whatever reason, he didn't want to give any numbers. And the promoters and the board said, no. We got some numbers here, and here's what it is. So I will say this, and that right there is what happens when you have experienced, business-minded people running the organization. Can it get better? We bang on Wasota quite often, right? Everything can improve. Hell, our show can improve, right? There are a lot of things I can improve, right? But the fact of the matter is, I think they're heading in the right direction. And that's a positive, and I'm really happy to be able to say that. So other breaking news, Bert, little NASCAR news here this past weekend, little shout out to Wisconsin. What do you got?
Yeah, Ty Majeski, who's from Seymour, Wisconsin originally, which is only like 45 minutes from where I live, won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Championship last Friday night. So that's quite an accomplishment. I've interviewed Ty several times before he started racing in NASCAR. Actually, I had him on the cover of Full Throttle magazine back in... It was the summer that he raced his first ever late model asphalt race. And
It was the summer of '69.
No, it
It
was in the 2000s somewhere. You know, he was just a young kid at that time, and he was a good interview back then. And it's good to see him have some success on the NASCAR ranks.
Midwest represent. So Wisconsin on the map there. Ty Majeski, your truck champion. Justin Allgaier won the Xfinity Series. He's a mod guy, dirt guy from Illinois. And I believe he sponsored Pierce. He does shocks. He does a lot of stuff. But Allgaier and then Logano getting it done in the Cup Series. A little bit of bad news in the NASCAR world, though,
Just
right?
wait.
Go ahead, Bert.
Here's the cover.
There we go.
That's Ty Majeski when he was racing go-karts at GSR Kartway in Clintonville, which is like 15 minutes from my house.
Is that where you raced? Did you race go-kart there?
I did not race go-karts there.
Okay.
But yeah, that's him in the go-kart, and that's his first ever asphalt late model. It was a limited late model that he raced.
That's kind of cool to be able to say that, hey, I interviewed this guy. I know this guy. I saw him kind of growing up, and now he's a NASCAR champion. That's kind of a cool deal, Bert.
Yeah, that was in 2010.
Okay. So I was going a little bad news in the NASCAR world as well. Alabama gang, right? Bobby Allison. Remember how old he was? In the 80s, early 80s, somewhere in there. Same age as Richard Petty. Same exact age as Richard Petty. I remember quite a few years ago, probably late 80s or early 90s, him and Davey Allison went 1-2 at the Daytona 500, kind of a big moment. That was pretty cool. But Bobby Allison gone. That's one of the legends of NASCAR that we watched as growing up as kids. He was a big deal in the NASCAR world. The Allison family, of course, and definitely a member of that Alabama gang.
I have 3 Bobby Allison memories. I mean, the one that you just described, and then when he was driving the Miller car, when he tore down several hundred feet of fencing at Talladega. That accident probably propelled the introduction of restrictor plates in NASCAR. And then the 1979 Daytona 500, when you hear the announcer go, "There's a fight," after the race was over, and it was Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough fighting because Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison got together on the last lap on the backstretch.
Nice. Was that? I didn't realize that was Bobby. I knew Donnie Allison was involved with the wreck. That was Bobby actually in the fight there?
Yeah, because the cars came to a stop in 3 and 4, and then Bobby stopped down there, and then him and Cale Yarborough got into a fight.
Nice. And quite honestly, that was one of the moments, or the moment, that really put NASCAR on the map and really got it rolling. So yeah, Bobby Allison gone, and that's a tough one right there. Local guide, somebody reach out and say, hey, we had another local racer pass. Didn't know this guy, Central Minnesota guy, ran streeters. I don't think he ran this past year, but Gavin Rowland, thoughts and prayers to his family. Sounds like he passed over the past few days as well. So any other notable news before we jump into our Pick'em segment here? All right. So 2024 Pick'ems, boys, brought to you by Brad Parson. Brad Parson's Soil and Ag Solution. If you're in Western Minnesota, the Dakotas, and you're looking, how can we be more profitable in our farming ventures in 2025? Well, folks, it's all about having the right stuff in your spray packages. And who better to call than Brad Parson at 320-219-3542. We have friends of the show that have used his products, and they said we had great yields. Very impressed, and he has all the data points for you, so you can really get a good feel for what they have to offer. Why not give it a shot? He's a racer himself. He wants to help those in the racing community, and if you want to be more successful, call Brad at Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solutions, So between Brad, myself, Worker Bee, Matt from Amsoil, we actually threw some money into a pot also above and beyond this. So the winner of our Pick'em segment at the end of the year, which is going to end with the XR 604 Nationals, that's going to be the final race we pick the week after the Dome. We're going to get to pick a driver, maybe two, that we decide to throw a little money at. We're going to put some money back into the racer's pocket for 2025. So it's kind of a cool deal. And right now, Curtis, we call him Rain Man, leading the way, Wisconsin guy as well. He's at 451. Chonga's at 446, only 5 points back. I'm at 441. So us three are kind of in a three-person breakaway. Your reigning champ, Curtis, leading the way. Uper's at 375, only 4 points ahead of two-time champ Burt Lehman, and Dano at 366, only 5 back from him. Worker Bee and Coach, after a big week winning the draft, kind of put yourself back in the mix. You're at 360, and Man Bun Dan at 356, Bromance at 323, and we're still waiting to see if Beefcake can eclipse the 300 mark. He is at 281 right now. In this past weekend, I was plus 18. Curtis was plus 17 on the week. We had the best week of the bunch. So this week's events, we're picking 5 different events, and we have 3, 4, 5. Looks like we have 7 races that we're picking. And I have my picks in front of us. Coach is probably going to cheat. Bert probably has his down. But we're going to pick the finale of the Castrol Flow Racing Night in America at Sonoy. And that is Friday and Saturday. Those races can be found on Flow. And going to be some pretty good hitters down there. And we'll go Bert, Coach, myself. And Coach, hopefully you can come on the fly here. Bert, who do you have at Sonoya?
Brandon Overton, RTJ.
Coach?
I'm taking Chris Madden both nights.
That's who I have as well. I am going with the 4-4 ride. I have Chris Smokey Madden as well. 410 buggy action up in Pennsylvania at Baps Motor Speedway. I believe that's on Saturday. So Bert, Coach, myself, who do you guys got?
Danny Dietrich.
It's a good pick. I think he won it last year.
I'm going Brent Marks.
And I don't know if he's going to be there or not. I tried to find out, but I got Jacob Allen is who I'm going to take. Then we're going to take the Turkey Bowl, Super Late Models, Springfield, Missouri. That's on Saturday as well. SpringfieldRaceway.tv, I believe. I think it's a Speed Sport affiliate. So Bert, Coach, myself. Bert, who do you have at Springfield?
Dylan McCowan.
Coach?
I'm pretty almost positive Ryan Gustin's going there, is he not?
Is that who you're taking?
That's who I'm taking. I thought I saw a post today. I'm taking Gustin.
That's who I have as well. The Reaper, Ryan Gustin. Yes. Blue Gray 100 down in Gaffney, South Carolina. Sunday, I believe it is. Cherokee Speedway down there. Co-sanctioned event. A couple regional series running together. Bert, who do you got?
Chris Madden.
Coach?
I know he's going because he told me. I'm taking Ricky Weiss.
Ricky, that'd be good to see a local guy get her down there, or used to be a local guy. We still call him a local guy. I'm going to take Madden as well. And then probably the one I'm most looking forward to. So they got a 7-race stretch out there in out west. And the first 2 of 7 are this coming weekend. Friday, Saturday, the USAC National Midget Series, the Hangtown 100 at Placerville out in California. That's going to be on Flow Racing as well. So a doubleheader. Last year, Young Money Kyle Larson won both nights. Bert, who do you have at Placerville?
First night I have Logan Seavey. Second night, Kyle Larson.
Did you confirm, is Larson going?
I don't know if he's going to be there or not. But
okay. Coach?
I'm taking T-Mez both nights.
Thomas Meserol. There you go, T-Mez. I saw him race up at Sycamore, put on a hell of a show from last to first a couple years back. And I'm going to take Logan CV ×2. So there you go. That's our bold predict, or that's our pick'ems for this week. Let's jump into our 3 bold predictions brought to you by our friend Coach Kraus.
Yes, elevate-visual.com video productions. Make sure if you need any drone work done, Brandon is a licensed drone operator. He also does commercials for businesses. So make sure if you need any video production done, get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com. You can also check him out at the Elevate Visual Facebook page.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brandon. Does a great job. So we make 3 bold predictions every week in the racing world, and we keep track, right? And we say they're bold, and then we pick on each other, say, they're not so bold. But needless to say, we all kind of suck at this. Our numbers are not very good, but we keep track, and we'll start with the ones that came off the board. Bert, you had 3 come off the board here. You said that a Matt, somebody with the first name Matt, was going to win all 3 nights of the Super Dirt Car Series down in Charlotte. That was not the case unless it's Matt or something, Perego. I know Williamson won 1. I don't remember who won the first night. I talked about it earlier.
Tim Fuller.
Yeah, Fuller won. So Bert, you did not get that one correct. You got 1 for 3. 1 for 3. Then you said that the Lucas Oil late models would have more podiums than the World of Outlaws. Well, on Thursday, it was RTJ, Troutman, and Madden. So that's 1 to Lucas, 0 to World of Outlaws. Night number 2, it was Pierce, Dillard, and it was Marlar third. So now we're 2 to 2, right? Night number 3, it was Madden, RTJ, and Marlar. So there was 6 Lucas and 4 World of Outlaws. You got that one correct. Or I guess I'm not very good at math. There was more Lucas than World of Outlaws. Let's put it that way. All right. And then you also said Ty Majeski would win the Truck Series Championship after he made the Final 4. Congrats. You got that one right. So 2 right for Bert. I had a few come off the board here. We'll start with my incorrect ones. I said that B-Shep, David Gravel, and Matt Shepard would all be crowned champions this weekend. Shepard DNF night number 1, and that ended his reign of terror on Matt Shepard. So Brandon Shepard Gravel got it done, but I got that one wrong. I said, then I had one here in the sprint cars. It's about as dumb as Jeff's prediction or his draft, not Jeff Krause or Uper. I said either or. RTJ is going to make an A main in the sprint car, or Sammy Swindell is going to get a top 10 or both. Well, Sammy Swindell, I don't even know if he made a B main, and RTJ only made 1 B main. So that was definitely wrong. I said that there would be a Minnesota late model driver with at least 1 top 10, and Dustin Sorensen, Brent Larson did not even sniff a top 10. So that did not happen. Episode number 204, a little while back, I said Donnie Schatz was going to win at least 10 A mains in 2024, and I think he got just over halfway there. He did not hit double digits. Episode 212, I said Minnesota driver Jake Tim would win the USMTS championship. No, sir. That was Jim Chisholm. But I got 2 off the board that were correct. Episode 206, a few months back, I said Brandon Shepard would win the World of Outlaw late model championship. He did. In episode 240, about a month ago, or a little over, a couple months ago, month and a half, I said big, sexy Brandon Overton would be the new Longhorn factory driver. And that did happen. And I heard a little buzz going around, but nothing was confirmed, so I might have cheated on that one. Uper had a bunch come off the board. Carson Macedo is going to win 2 this weekend, but not win the championship. He won 1, did not win the championship, close but no cigar. He said Superman Jonathan Davenport would podium all 3 nights in the Rumley 6 and get at least 1 win. He had 0 podiums in the Rumley 6. And then he said Bobby Pierce would finish 3rd in the World of Outlaw Championship battle. After night number 1 of the World Finals, it looked like that might happen. And then it didn't, because good old Nick Hoffman broke. He said David Gravel will not win the championship. That was clearly incorrect. He said Rocket One will announce their 2025 plans at Charlotte. That must have happened just before Charlotte, or when did that happen?
That was after Charlotte.
Oh, right after Charlotte? Okay. Was it Monday? They announced that Monday? I think they didn't come out Monday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he said it was either going to be on or before, and it was after. Okay. Episode 240, he said Bishop would be the Rocket House Car driver in 2025, and he had that correct. And he said on episode 214, Bobby Pierce will not repeat as champ, and he had that correct. Chonga had 2 come off the board for the Peanut Gallery. Coach, how's your elbow doing?
It's fine.
It's fine. Okay, so he said Coach was going to hurt his elbow, rub an elbow with all the Wasota people. He did not. And then he said Matt Shepard was going to win 2 of 3, and one of those would be on Friday. That did not happen either. So we keep track of correct predictions and percentage correct. Jeff is doing the best. He's got 32 correct. That's leading the way. I have 25, Bert 24, Coach 23, Peanut Gallery 20. So us 3 are all really close. We're literally within a couple. Percentage correct, he has 30.8. That's also correct. Coach, you're second in that one, 25.3. Bert and I are tied at 23.8. So Peanut Gallery at 22. We got some work to do. So we're going to end this episode by making 3 bold predictions, and we're going to go 3 laps around the track. Bert, you'll go first. Then it'll be Coach. Then I have Youpers. Then I have my own. Bert, your first prediction of this week.
I'll go late model racing for this week, and I will say Chris Madden will have 3 podium finishes with at least 1 win.
3 podiums, at least 1 win for Chris Smokey Madden and the G.R. Smith 44 Longhorn. All right, Coach.
So is Sonoya 2 full shows, 2 races?
Yep.
Okay. I am going to go RTJ and Madden they'll finish 1-2 both nights. Don't know who's going to win or doing what, but both nights they're going to be 1-2.
RTJ Madden 1-2 both nights. Okay. Youper's first one is Chris Madden will not win the Blue Gray 100, and he will also not podium at the Blue Gray 100. So essentially, Chris Madden will be off the podium. Okay. I am going to go National USAC Racing, Hangtown 100 at Placerville. So there's some notable drivers there. There's some World of Outlaw guys. There's some high limit guys. There's some really good midget drivers. I mean, it is going to be worth watching. These cats are highly entertaining. Top 10 drivers from Woo and High Limit will account for 3 podiums or more the 2 nights at the Hangtown 100. 3 or more podium from drivers that are high limit. And when I say high limit or Woo, I'm going to go top 15 in points in each, right? So they race most of the shows or whatever. So top 15 in World of Outlaw or Lucas points, there will be at least 3 podiums represented by them. So 50%. If they race one night, they have to race both nights for it to count. So, Bert, your second one.
I'm going to go Turkey Bowl and say Ryan Gustin, the Reaper, will not have a podium finish there.
If he doesn't show up, this does not count. You ain't backing into this one.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. No,
so
I agree with that.
The Reaper Ryan Gustin will finish off the podium at Springfield on Saturday. Coach Kraus.
I'm going to the XR race, and I'm going to say the drivers are going to make a statement here.
There is no XR race. Oh, you're talking Vegas.
No, isn't Sonoy on XR, or is it over?
That's Flow Racing Night in America.
Oh, then that shoots my 1 in the foot. So I'm gonna have to go with.
So the XR race this weekend is the Duel in the Desert in Vegas.
Gotcha. I'm gonna go RTJ will yard sale Chris Madden this weekend.
And does it have to result in a DNF, or is he just going to flat? I mean, we'll know when we see it. He's going to drive.
We're going to know. We're going to know if he yard sales him.
All right. Boy, that could be fun. They fight in the South. You're not afraid to. They're not afraid to throw down there. I don't know if I'd recommend that if I was old Ricky Bobby there, Ricky Thornton Jr. RTJ. All right, Youper's second one. Big sexy Brandon Overton will win in his factory Longhorn ride debut this weekend. So I assume he'll be at the Flow races, but whichever night is his first night in the factory Longhorn ride this weekend, Brandon Overton will find victory lane. My second one, I'm going to go a combination of the Castrol Sonoya races. So, or there's two at Sonoya. Okay. I'm just going to go both of them races there. The combination of Chris Madden, actually, I'm going to switch that one. That'll be my next one. Castrol race here. Madden will have a better average finish than Overton, both in relatively new rides. So Madden in the G.R. Smith ride, Brandon Overton in the factory Longhorn ride. Chris Madden will have a better average finish over the 2 nights than Brandon Overton. All right, Bert, you're up.
For the Castro Flow at Sonoya, the podiums for the 2 nights will be all different drivers, except only one driver will be on the podium twice.
Okay. Coach?
I'm going to go to Sonoya again. This is bold. There's going to be both nights now, no rocket chassis in the top 10 either night.
Wow. At Sonoya, no rocket chassis in the top 10 either night at Sonoya.
Bert, that's for you because that's bold, and I'm bold, and I make bold predictions, and I'm still ahead of you in the percentages. And you forgot to mention that my RTJ will not make an A main in the World Outlaw Sprint Car bold position from 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you remember that. That came true, so I should probably have another couple more points on there, but when you
get on it, Uper. All right.
Yeah, our statistician, I don't know what, like you said, he's probably snowed in trying to dig his way out up there.
All right. So speaking of Uper, his third and final one, RTJ will have a better average finish than Bobby Pierce this weekend. Neither one will find victory lane. RTJ better average finish than Pierce, but neither one will win an A main. My third and final one, I'm going to go back out to Placerville. I'm going to go to the USAC sprint cars, and these things are fun to watch. They're slide jobbing like crazy. In the 2 A mains, okay? I'm not counting heats. I'm not counting hot laps. I'm not counting B mains, none of that. In the 2 A mains, there will be at least 5 rollovers combined over the 2 nights in A main action for the midgets out in Placerville. At least 5 rollovers in A mains for the USAC midgets. And hopefully everybody's okay, but those things tumble like crazy. Guys, I remember when I was a kid, which is a long ass time ago. Remember back in the day when we only had like 10 channels on a TV and not thousands of streaming options, right? And they had Thursday Night Thunder. Remember that out at Ascot Park? And I'd be up watching TV till like freaking 2 a.m. and my mom would be, you got to go to bed. You got school in the morning. I'm like, I'm sleeping. I'm watching racing, right? And it's a Thursday. And I fell in love with those things. They are so fun to watch, and they're slide jobbing like crazy. So that's what I'm looking forward to most this weekend. But tell you what, episode number, I always get this wrong, 247 in the book. So hopefully you guys catch some racing. I know we got some football. Both the Vikings and Packers are playing this weekend. Go Bears. And as always, I'm Ryan Aho. That is Bert Lehman. That is Coach Kraus. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review and subscribe. It is Puka. And Goat Sports has another show out there by podcast, Facebook, and YouTube. It's the Tea with Miss McGill show. Covers hockey, high school hockey in northern Minnesota. So if you're into hockey, you can find us on podcast under Tea with Miss McGill. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, Goat Sports Media LLC. Yours truly and Coach Reed Larson. We break it down every week. We also do some interesting interviews. We'd love to have you. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you next week.